Okay, hello everybody. I know I'm starting a bit late, late from usual, but also late from when I said I was going to start, even though I was going to be late. I got offered a gig, a job, um, and I'm not sure um, what all is going to happen next. But then I ended up on a conference call with them this morning. So anyway, I wasn't expecting all that. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay in the chat room. And yeah, um, let's see here. So things have been crazy. The last sort of month I've been meditating a lot more. I kind of, overstrained myself when I was cleaning out around September. And then I hurt my neck and my shoulders. And then I was taking time off from transcribing, and mostly because if I was transcribing, just sitting here, my neck would get sore. So I stopped doing that for a couple of weeks, and I relaxed and tried to stretch my neck and did other things where I could get up and walk away if I needed to, not to mention the stress of having to get a file done, because they have time constraints with the transcribing. So I had just taken a little bit of a break, and I was sort of forcing myself to relax a little bit more because of my aches and pains. And I was meditating more and more, but just the whole act of relaxing really helped. I've been able to listen to some videos, law of attraction, and things like that. If you're new, I talked about law of attraction plenty of my videos, very Christian, very biblical. I'm not going to get into that here um, right now, but that's of course what I've been listening to is all these videos on law of attraction, Abraham Hicks, etc. I've got a video on that. And she says, or they say through her, that in order to get a job where you can have free time, you need to act as if you already have it. You have to feel as if you already have free time. And so, act as if in order to get the manifestations. So I was acting as if I am able to take off time of work and have free time, etc. Because that's what I did. I took time off of the transcription, and I really tried to just relax, and then I was doing the meditation, which really helped. Really, really helped. And then all this stuff started happening. So, I had this amazing dream this past week, and after that, then it just got more intense. Then I got offered the job, and it's a gig, but it might turn into something more. So, it's more money than the transcription stuff. So that's what I've been working on the past couple of days. But I believe that it really has to do with the fact that I relaxed and meditated. So this opening up of a position basically handed to me on a platter is because I meditated and because I was relaxing. And so I know I was trying to, in my last video, sort of tell people that we should be relaxing. We should be not worrying about things. And I know that when you first tell somebody, you should meditate, it, maybe just, it's hard to take in because I used to, um, I used to hear that, somebody says you should go meditate, and then I would try to go and meditate, and it wouldn't work. I mean, I didn't know what to do. And so, you see those pictures of people meditating like cross-legged with their hands out, saying om, and there's nothing against doing that if that works for you. There's nothing against any of the kind of relaxations and, yoga positions or whatever anybody does to meditate. That may work for them. But for me, that just did not work at all. And then I just felt like I sort of threw my hands up in the air and said, I can't meditate, every time somebody would tell me to meditate. So I was just like, well, that doesn't work for me. And I know one of the main complaints is you can't stop thinking about things. I want to talk about that. And it wasn't until I started listening to Abraham Hicks, like I was relaxing, and then all of a sudden I accidentally clicked on a video and it led to an Abraham Hicks video. And I didn't know what the heck I'd clicked on, but I figured it was for a purpose, and so I listened. And I do believe it was for a purpose. And then I got led to, because I listened to them talk about their meditation and the way that their meditation happens. It's about breathing in and out, but in a different pace. And it got my interest. And so I went and I bought the app. Now you can find the same meditations online on YouTube for free, which I didn't know at the time, but no problem. I was thinking of it as an investment into my spiritual well-being. So I bought the app. I started listening to the meditations, and they said only listen to about 15 minutes a day. That really didn't help me in the beginning. Now it's fine, but in the beginning that wasn't really a help. But the reason for that was because they didn't want somebody to meditate for hours and hours and hours on end, because life is here for our living. It's not meant for us to go off into the forest and meditate, for 23 hours of the day or something, There are some people who feel like that's what they want to do, when maybe they're led for that for a purpose, but we are here for the purpose of living, But that being said, in the beginning, when we're very new to meditation, I think that we do need probably a little bit more than 15 minutes. I have a meditation video because I heard about this conference call this morning. I really didn't have time to prepare for the video as I normally do, but I do want to get a link down below in the description box to my meditation video if you're listening to this after the fact. But that meditation video is sort of based on the way Abraham does their meditation, except that I use more Christian language, more understandable. And so I think that that's beneficial, and I was telling people to check it out from my last video, and I don't know if anybody has. I'd be curious to know if it's helped if you have. But I suggest to do it at nighttime. So that's one of my tips for meditation. When I started meditation, first, the way I am defining meditation to get into a meditative state, as I put into the title, when I finally got into that meditative state, I felt like I was floating inside my body, like the spirit inside the body, and not very connected to the body, just inside, and very relaxed, very sort of peaceful, a sort of I want to say out of it, but it's not like I couldn't be back in it. If you take drugs or something like that, you can feel out of it, but then you're kind of stuck out of it. In this case, I was out of it, but if somebody had wanted my attention, and if I wanted to get up, then I'd immediately just get up. It wasn't something that it's kind of like hitting that spot that people try to take drugs to get to, but you're doing it without the drugs. And that's where you have the control. You're not at the whims of whatever your body's feeling. It's, I talked about that, the difference between drugs and actual meditation, in a previous video. So when I talk about the meditative state, to me, it is about that feeling of being just a spirit, sort of free floating, as if you're on the water inside of the body. So some movement, but just not sort of stuck in the physical, and not constant thought. As I talked about with the video about the book, The Surrender Experiment, Michael Singer, in that he talks about the voice that's constantly talking. We talked about the monkey mind or whatever, And that just sort of goes away once you hit this meditative state. So I was thinking that all the times I meditated, I thought that, oh, I'm getting relaxed, you know? I thought, oh, this is it. But it wasn't until I really started this meditation after listening to the Abraham Hicks stuff that it just clicked. And I was hitting that. I was getting into that state. And like I said, the first times it did not work with just a 15-minute, meditation track. So what I did originally, the Abraham Hicks meditation app has, I'm trying to remember, I think it's 3 different, there's a general well-being, financial abundance, and a healthy body meditation, and a bonus track that's mostly just the music, but a little bit of words. So what I would do is I would listen to one of them, usually the general well-being one first, and then I'd pick one of the other ones, like just pick general well-being and then financial, or general well-being and then healthy body, general well-being and then the mostly music one. And so it was around the second track, the second 15-minute track, that I would sort of hit this state after a while. Definitely want to try this out and don't force yourself, be like, oh, I didn't hit it, I didn't get into that meditative state that she's talking about in the first night, or something. Give it time. And a lot of the hard, I don't want to say hard, because really it's just a matter of giving things over. It's not hard. It's actually quite easy for what I want to get into. But what people find difficult at times is letting go of the voice, constantly thinking thoughts. So that is another thing I want to talk about here. Mostly when you're constantly thinking thoughts, it's because you're worried about something. Like I said in the last video, Jesus told us not to worry. He says, the birds, they are clothed, they're fed, whatever, everything is taken care of. If he takes care of the birds, why wouldn't he take care of you? And something I found interesting recently was that somebody was saying worry is visualization and law of attraction and all that stuff. Like when we talk about the law of attraction and visualizing you in a better situation, what somebody would call using the law of attraction to get what you want, we're really doing this all of the time, basically. And I thought that was very interesting when he said that, because it's true. We are constantly visualizing ourselves in a situation. Most of the time, most people out there who are not, awake or whatever, are not visualizing them in pleasant situations. They're worrying themselves into visualizations. So if somebody says, I have to work very hard so that I can make money, so that I can pay my bills, so that I don't get sent out on the street because I'm going to lose my house, because I can't pay the rent or the mortgage or whatever. You are visualizing a future you that is going to be kicked out because you can't pay the rent. Unless you work very hard, in which case you are visualizing you as a workaholic. So we're always constantly visualizing ourselves in the future. Most people do it by worrying. This is probably why Jesus said don't worry, because he knew that as soon as you start to worry, you're just visualizing yourself into a situation that you don't want to be in. And that's what's going to be brought forth. So we are constantly visualizing. So a lot of people, mainstream Christians might say, visualization is, visualization with the law of attraction is just, of the devil or something, but they visualize themselves in situations that they don't want to be in whenever they worry about something. So a mainstream Christian in that position might worry, if I do what they do and practice the law of attraction and visualization, then a demon might get me, or I might end up in hell when I die. They are visualizing themselves being punished to hell if they die. So they are giving themselves a very negative visualization by saying that you shouldn't visualize or else, you'll burn in hell or something. So I'm just saying that if anybody is against visualizations, in reality, we're all constantly visualizing ourselves in the future. Whether it's positive or negative is up to you. And Jesus told us to not worry and to think on whatever things are pleasant and nice and true and good, and beautiful. So that's basically what we should be doing, obviously. So when you're laying, yeah, Arthur, that is one of the main points I want to talk about in this video. I was just going to say laying down. Okay, the position I found that was best for meditation is to lay down, not sitting up. A lot of people, you see them, in those pictures and like visualizing them like this, which I talked about at the beginning. But in reality, the only way I've reached this state myself personally so far is by laying down. And I also mentioned what time of the day. I would say at night. When you are just waking up in the morning, it may benefit you personally to do it in the morning because you might have less worries. Although a lot of people might say, oh, I got to get this done before I have to get to work. So you're probably not going to have less worries in the morning. But after a whole day, you're going to have a lot of thoughts on your mind. But that's what I want to talk about in this video, on how to release those thoughts and things like that. Yes, I did fall asleep one time I was doing this. Yeah. But that's okay. You want to fall asleep in a good... This is like the best way to fall asleep. Okay. So why lying down? Well, the most important thing I found when you are meditating is, kind of want to show this, like putting your hands, like on your abdomen or your stomach or something. And whenever you breathe in down here so that it expands. And then you breathe out and it goes down. So, of course, I'm talking about up, up and down when you're laying down. But when you're sitting down in one of those positions, and I was trying to do this while sitting down, I can't feel myself do that. I kind of feel like I'm pushing really hard to get my stomach out when I don't know, it just wasn't very easy. And also another thing is with mucus. I don't mean to get disgusting, but if you're trying to breathe through your mouth, a lot of people breathe through their mouth because they can't breathe through their nose. I think it's very beneficial to just, if you try to breathe through your nose and you feel like you have to blow your nose, blow it over and over again. A lot of people, they have meat and dairy and things like that lead to a lot of mucus. I'm vegan, I cut that stuff out and I still have mucus. Mucus is just our body's way of getting rid of negative things. And we have a lot of stuff going on, so it's constantly trying to get rid of stuff. There's stuff you can do for getting less mucus. I think there's a book called The Mucusless Diet. I haven't read it, and I think it talks about no flour or bread or something. And I still love my bread, but, what I try to do is blow my nose very, as much as possible beforehand so that, then you just lay down and so that you can breathe through your nose and you're touching your stomach so you can feel it, going up and down. And so, like I said, you can listen to my meditation video or the Abraham Hicks videos or whatever kind of meditation video you want to. But paying attention to your breath, a lot of people mention it, and I found that to be very helpful. If I wasn't paying attention to my breath, my mind started to wander onto other things. And that's why you want to pay attention to the breath. It is very much like a stage between being awake and falling asleep, except when I was that way, I might have fallen asleep in that state, but I might not have even hit that state in that time when I fell asleep. But when I'm in that state, I don't really feel like kind of mentioned before that, it's kind of like I'm out of it like a drug, but you can get up at any time instead. Like a drug, you can't get rid of that feeling. But with this, I could just snap out of it whenever. So I have been in this state and then I just get up and then do something. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be in and like almost a sleep state. It doesn't mean that you're going to fall asleep right next, because some people do this in the morning. If you set up enough time, if you get up early enough and you have enough time set up, you're not going to run into, worrying I have to do this or whatever. So you can actually just sort of clear your mind and you have the time. You can do this in the morning, but I just found that at nighttime it was much easier. And actually, I haven't done it in the morning because I'm constantly, when I wake up in the morning, I feel like since I meditated at night, I feel like I sort of had to download a lot of stuff that I want to do. And I sort of feel like I have a lot of inspiration in the morning. And so I just get up and then I start doing it. And I can't really get myself into a place where now I'm just going to relax and not think. That's what Abraham was talking about with the whole, like, you don't want to meditate your whole day around, away. We're meant to do things, the inspiration to do things was coming through the sleep for me. And so in the morning, I just get up and go and do that. Although not today, but well, I guess today, but I didn't really get much sleep last night because I kept waking up in the middle of the night. I don't really think that I did notice it. It's not something I was paying attention to, so probably not. I think I do find times when I start breathing that I feel like, it might have been a while since my last breath after I get into that state. I'm not saying that you have to breathe at certain lengths or else you're not going to get into that state. Um, See, I'm not even sure on the language of it. I know there is a different brainwave thing there. At the beginning of this video, I just sort of explained my definition of the meditative state as when I feel like I'm floating, like a spirit just floating kind of on a water, like, just lightly inside of my body, and just sort of a little disconnected, a little out of it from the body, but not so out of it like a state of in drugs or something where I can't just snap out of it and do whatever I want to do. Obviously, if something had hit me, I would have just gotten up and gone, or if I'd heard a noise, I would just, somebody's at the door, I'd just stand up and go and get it. It's not like a drug in that way where the drug out of it feeling would just go with you. It's just as soon as I'd get up, I'd be out of it and more like awake and with it. It's definitely conscious. And I talked about the fact that you might not fall asleep. You could fall asleep, especially if you're doing it at nighttime. So like I said, when I'm watching my breath, I'm watching it for a while, but then at some points I realize I'm not paying attention to it anymore. That's usually when I'm not thinking, but sometimes you can find your thoughts still come to you. I've had a lot of stuff going on this last week, and so it's been kind of weird. I didn't really get much sleep last night. I meditated before bed. I fell asleep. Probably got like 3 hours or maybe 2 hours of sleep. And then I was up at 12 something, and then I ate, and it was just sort of weird. I didn't want to, meditate before I went to bed, but then I really couldn't fall asleep anymore. And somebody had mentioned this to me, Lisa, and I was watching Abraham, and she says the same thing, is really, if you're really, really in tune, you don't need to sleep as much, because the feeling tired is usually a sign of resistance. Usually through the day, we go through so much stuff that we're kind of building up resistance, and then it's just, we need to sleep to sort of release it. I think Abraham mentioned using a timer, and they only did 15 minutes. Personally, I just did the 15-minute meditation that they had, and then I started another 15-minute meditation, and then I did that a couple of nights in a row, made it much easier than only was doing 15 minutes. the meditation tracks I'm talking about were only 15 minutes, and I think my meditation track is also 15 minutes, but you'd have to go see that. So I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to mention. Well, getting rid of thoughts. Well, I do want to talk about getting rid of thoughts. If I forget, worries and things like that, if I forget, please just ask me. Are there any questions or comments or thoughts that you want me to discuss specifically before we go on? I know you guys are talking to each other in the chat and everything, and I think that's great. So is there anything specific that you want for me to discuss, answer, whatever, before I get on to what do we do with all these worry thoughts, thoughts of worry or whatever? I'm just waiting to see if there's any questions, or else I'll move on and start that. I'm glad to see you all here too, and we're a little bit late, like I mentioned at the beginning of this. All right, I think that nobody else is going to ask any questions or anything there. So one of the main concerns is always about releasing those thoughts. People say, you can sort of visualize thoughts coming to you, and you see them being sent away. So you can try to visualize these things in your mind, but I think we want to look at the core reason of why they're happening. There's some people out there who say, oh, just ignore them, and that may work for them. And so that's why this video isn't really, and when I say meditation for dummies, I'm calling myself one basically because it was at the beginning of my meditation. Whenever anybody told me to meditate, I just couldn't do it. I didn't know what to do. And it's because I was doing it the wrong way for me. And there might be many right ways for people out there. So I'm not saying any of those ways that you're doing that aren't what I'm saying aren't right. I'm just saying that it wasn't right for me. And this is what I found that actually worked for me. And so I'm hoping that this might help other people and that it will work for them. So when I lay there, usually there's a thought that will come by, and some people might say, just throw it away. And, or just visualize it floating away from you. Visualize it flying away from you. I might have said in the past, and this is still true if you can do it, visualize this weight. It's on your shoulders often. Visualize that and put it on Jesus. He said he would take, he'll take the yoke upon him. And so you can sort of visualize, Jesus taking this upon him so that you don't have to worry, like put the burden on him. I think that's sort of what Florence Scovel Shinn said in her article or book on The Game of Life, which I did a video on reading it, and there's a PDF on my website, lothealing.com, if you're interested. But so she sort of came upon this, and she would say, whatever's worrying you, just, say, I'm going to put this burden on Jesus, and I'm not going to worry about it anymore. You can think of it as the Christ Spirit or the Holy Spirit, the anointing, giving it up to God. Let go, let God. I'm not going to deal with this worry anymore. I'm going to give it to God. And whether you visualize this, in your imagination is up to you. But what really, really works for me to get rid of these things is to try to understand that no matter what happens, the Father really is taking care of us. He's really watching over us, and we really don't have to worry about things. And you can go back to Jesus saying, don't worry. Don't worry about what's going to clothe you. Don't worry about what food you're going to have. He's going to provide. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just worry about, well, not worry, but, just think about today, get through today, and then tomorrow will take care of itself. And so, you just want to understand that he's taking care of everything. Even if you feel like, but you have to worry about it because you have to deal with it. In some cases, if you're laying there thinking, I really should respond to that email. I really should respond to that email, but you don't want to, you're procrastinating it. Some cases, I would suggest getting up and just writing the email and then going back to meditate. Or, if you're in a position where that can be tomorrow, say, I know that I should respond to that email. I'm going to respond to it tomorrow morning as soon as I wake up. Set that intention. Really believe it. Don't say, I'm going to procrastinate again another day. Just say, no, tomorrow, I'm going to do it tomorrow so that I don't have to think about it the next time I meditate. And once you just say, I'm going to do it tomorrow, you're sort of picking it up and placing it in the tomorrow bank. And I'm not going to worry about that because I'm not going to do anything with it today. So I don't have to worry about it today. As soon as I get up tomorrow, I'll be refreshed and I'll take care of that. So if you're having tasks coming into your mind, you might want to take care of it before you go in, try to meditate. Whenever I go in to meditate, I will have my room relatively cleaned up because I don't want to lay there thinking, oh, I should have cleaned my room. And a cluttered room does lead to a cluttered mind. If there's anything else I want to deal with, like putting away the dishes or something, I usually do the dishes in the morning at this point because I just think of it like a meditation thing in the morning. But if you don't want to go to bed with dirty dishes, you're not going to want to meditate, get up, and then go do them. So that'll be on your mind. So do them first. If there's anything that you feel like you have to do that day, then you're going to want to do it beforehand. You're also going to want to leave enough time so that you're not like, I'm so exhausted. It's been such a horrible day, awful, long, long day. And now I'm going to go to bed, but I have to wake up at 6 a.m. and it's like midnight. And now I'm going to meditate for 15 minutes or whatever. It's not really the best time. Likely you're going to fall asleep or you're just going to get anxious because you can't do it, can't get into that state or something because you're really tired. You want to set aside the time for yourself. And whenever those thoughts do occur to you, like I said, you can take care of them first, or when you feel them, get up and do it and then go back to meditate. Or say that I'm going to deal with that tomorrow. Or in some cases, you have something that is really bothering you, but you can't do anything about it. So let's say you're worried about how you're going to make enough money to pay the rent in 3 days. While lying in bed, you're not going to be making the rent. So you have to understand that while lying in bed, worrying about not making the rent is actually visualizing a negative situation, which will put you into a state where you're going to attract that worry in the morning. So you definitely don't want to visualize negative things. So that's what worry is basically doing. And you can see so many people today go to bed, worry about things. It's kind of like planting those seeds in your subconscious, waking up, and then those things come to pass. Why? Because they worried about them all night long. If you got a speech in the morning or something and you're worried about it going negatively, if you picture yourself giving it or, fumbling and not knowing what to say, etc., that's not going to lead to a better outcome in the morning, depending upon your vibration. In that case, I would end up, laying there, and you might want to visualize first rather than meditate and then visualize or something. But visualize if it was the case of a speech or something. You might not visualize yourself giving the speech because you don't know what to say or something, or you don't know how you're going to react to other people or what they're going to say. But visualize yourself after the speech being congratulated on such a great speech. You visualize yourself in the happy place where whatever you wanted was accomplished. You don't know how, but it was accomplished, and you're visualizing the happy experience that you have afterwards. So I recently had to do this with the new gig I did. And so I was worried about something, and so I laid down and I meditated, but I was visualizing the after, like 2 or 3 weeks ahead, rather than worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow morning. And that's when I woke up in the middle of the night and things got solved. But that's how great the meditation can be, how visualization can work. If I'd gone to bed worrying, then I might have brought about more worry and things might not have worked out as well. So, when you worry, you sort of lead to more things to worry about, and it's just not good. So, we don't want to visualize negative things. So, if you're laying there and you are visualizing a situation and you think to yourself, I don't want things to work out that way, then say, skip ahead, a day or a couple hours or a week or whatever, however long you need to do to visualize yourself actually being happy with the outcome of what happened previously. So that's what I did, and that really helped. So I was actually going a couple months ahead, I think, in my mind at that point. I didn't know how everything would work out. Whatever works for you as far as the time length, but if you're stuck visualizing something negative, visualize yourself in the future with this incident already happened and you're already happy with the result and how you would feel, happy with the result, how everything went well. Even if you don't know how it's going to work out, that doesn't matter. Just visualizing yourself in the future, being happy with how it worked out is what's important. Because when you're feeling that state of happiness, that's what you bring. And then your subconscious is working towards getting everything that would lead to that result for you and brings it to you. And you'll make the right decisions in the right time. I mean, I woke up in the middle of the night at 1:44 and like 4:41, I was from these numbers might not mean anything to you. It's just personal numbers, 4 and 1 and 414 and etc. that are to me important. Like it's weird because the one who offered me the opportunity, his area code is 414. So I'm just saying that it's just really weird. These numbers are just significant to me. But I do keep seeing them. So let's see here. Okay, so we go to bed, and if there's something you can do about it, go do it before you meditate. Otherwise, if something you can put it off and realize I'm not going to think about it tonight because I'm going to think about it when I do it. I'm going to be refreshed when I think about it when I do it, and I don't need to worry about it tonight. There's no need for me to do that. Giving it up to God, like I said, you visualize the future. You're saying God's going to take care of it. I'm going to end up in this happy result. This is the situation I want in the future. God's going to take care of it. So you're taking that worry and putting it onto Him or Jesus or however you want to visualize it in your head. It doesn't have to be an actual visualization of, giving it to Him, but you can. And when you're doing this and you're, laying down and you're feeling your stomach go up and down as you breathe, think about your shoulders, your jaw, your legs, etc. Try to think about it and think about, are these things tight? Are they, am I holding on a lot of energy or something on there? Like your shoulders. Sometimes even when you're laying there and you feel like you're comfortable and you just think about it, you're like, wow, my shoulders really were tensed up. But when I let go of that situation, just sort of visualize, yourself like a weight being lifted, and you can notice your shoulders can go back even further than you thought, like you were holding on to some tightness that you didn't even realize that you had. And this does get me to the tongue thing. So one time I heard that, in order to meditate the right way, you have to have your tongue do this special thing or whatever. And I don't know what that is. I don't know the anatomy of it, and it was something to do like when you're sitting, and might be different when you're laying down. But I will tell you, when I was laying down and I was doing this, getting rid of things and relaxing my body even further than it was, I noticed, it was really random actually. One day I was thinking about the breathing and all that stuff, listening to the meditation, and all of a sudden my tongue just sort of got less tight. I don't really know how to describe it, but there was this tightness. I mean, it's a muscle, right? And it just relaxed at some point. through it. And then I realized I was holding on to some tension, but it was in, like the jaw or tongue or something there. So I'm not saying you have to like focus on doing that, but if you feel like, you know, there's a relaxing going on, let it go, relax. Let that happen. So I think that part of that, being in that meditative state, it might have something to do with the tongue moving in a place where you're getting more breath and you don't have to constantly watch your breath go up and down. Because I said that sometimes I think I would forget to breathe, that it wasn't as much, wasn't really paying attention. Um, Nothing to do with reptilians. um, Not a forked thing. It's just your tongue might be like, just a little tight. Like sometimes when you go to the dentist and they're doing stuff and they're like, relax your tongue. And you're like, can't, you're doing stuff, like it's really hard to get into this state where you can just relax the tongue. They know that it's hard for you to do that. And it's really not difficult. I'm not saying that it's going to be difficult for you to relax your tongue. It is when somebody's poking inside of your mouth. But if you're in a meditative state and you're just laying there, like I said, it just happened. I was just laying there and all of a sudden I felt like my tongue just relax, and just sort of, I don't know how better to, it's kind of difficult to explain. And I think that's why some people find it so hard to meditate, is because people don't really have the words to explain exactly what you should be doing specifically for yourself. But really the main thing is when you're laying there, you want to relax. And there are a lot of muscles in your body that you're not realizing that you're not relaxing. And every time you're holding on to a stress issue, a worry of some sort, I think that it's causing these muscles to relax. And every time you're letting go of something so that you're not thinking about it anymore, it lets you relax. So if you can visualize that, that's great, and it'll help you maybe. But if you're just focusing on your breath, it might happen just naturally. Like I said, it happened naturally to me. And I'm not saying you can't hit that state without the tongue thing. Don't focus on it. I'm not telling you to focus on it. I'm just saying if it happens, don't be surprised. And it might be something to do with the breath, for why some people mention it. So I know that it's sometimes difficult for people to let go of worries, and it's just, like I said, the main thing is, first, you want to take care of it. If it's something that you have to take care of, that you want, that will help you out, take care of it. If it's something easy, just do it. A lot of people procrastinate and then they lie in bed and then there's all these things they didn't deal with throughout the day. Another thing that might come up is if you are angry at somebody. A lot of times you might go to bed if you got angry with somebody and just, toss and turn because you keep replaying the situation over and over in your mind. That's because you haven't dealt with it yet. And I was saying on my website that I think that that's God telling you, you need to deal with this issue. Don't go to bed without dealing with this issue. And yet so many people just toss and turn and just never deal with it. And yet if you were tossing and turning and you dealt with it, you'd be able to go to sleep, because it's just something you need to release. It's something that is sort of stressing your body. So if you're angry at somebody, then you want to let go of the anger. And so I have a video on forgiving yourself and forgiving other people. And sometimes you're angry at yourself. Sometimes, you did something, you think, oh gosh, I was so stupid for doing that. And then you replay it over and over and over in your head, and you're just sort of hating on yourself. You want to relax and let it go. It's like, I did that with everything I knew at that point in time. Everything, hindsight is 20/20. At this point in time, I'm not going to do things the same way. I learned from it. It was a great learning experience. Try to turn it around. Think, it helped me, so I'm not going to do that again. Just try to let go of it. Don't focus on it. The more you focus on, hating yourself, being angry at yourself, it's just going to get you into a bad vibration. It's not going to bring any good results. You're never going to get to a fantastic result being on a bad vibration. If you're thinking negative thoughts, if you're fearful or if you're angry, you're never going to get to that loving and happy and wholesome state where you can relax. Relaxation is the opposite of fear, and God kept telling us not to fear, don't worry, etc. And that's what a lot of people do when they lie in bed at night, or they're angry. And, we're also told, don't give anger a foothold. Don't give the devil a foothold, by holding on to your wrath at nighttime. So you want to release that. You want to forgive and then move on and forgive yourself, etc. Whatever you're holding on to just needs to go. And that's for your benefit, because as soon as you let go, your spirit, God, whatever your spirit's making prayers to God basically for you, right? The spirit groans when you don't know what to say, etc. Every time something negative has happened, and you can think about this when you're laying there, any negative situation, it's causing you to understand, to clarify what you do want. Okay, so, if you treated somebody poorly and now you're beating yourself up again, you're realizing, I don't want to do that. So don't beat yourself up and stay in this position of, I did this negative thing. Release it and say, that was the past. I'm going to be a new creation. And I'm going to focus on the positive, like I'm going to not do that in the future. And then think about not doing that in the future. So, if you were mean and you don't want to be mean, don't focus on the fact that you were mean, then focus on the fact that you're not going to be that way in the future, that you're going to be positive, you're going to be helping people. That's a visualization of the future you, and that's what you want. And once you're in that vibration, it's going to come. Seek and you shall find, ask and it shall be given. As soon as you let go of thinking about the negative, you're releasing resistance and you're bringing in the positive. So if you're sitting there worried about how am I going to make the rent, once you realize, okay, I've asked God for me to make the rent. Don't focus on the fact that you're worried about not making the rent. That's just visualizing the negative. Keep bringing that. You place that in the past, like, okay, I was worried that I wasn't going to make the rent. I've asked God that I don't want to be worried that I'm going to make the rent or whatever, right? So I know that I asked and I'll receive, that I'm not going to be worried that I have to make the rent, etc. Things will come to me. So you are focusing on what you do want, what you did ask for. You've released the resistance, and now you are free to receive the answer. So whenever you're laying in bed and something is coming to your mind and you're worried about this, say, okay, God, I was worried about that, but I'm placing that in the past. Right now, I'm a new creature, washed new, etc. So Father, please, you know that I've asked for this, and then focus on the future, the visualization of the future, because you believe the prayer is going to be answered because you have faith. Ask and you shall receive. You know you asked. You're going to receive. Your faith is how you will be saved, right? So that's when you get into the positive state. If you can lay in bed and think of every single thing that comes to your mind, if it's negative, understand you're putting that in the past, and you think about the future and think about it in that terms, you'll want to be in that future. And if you're struggling to get into that visualization of the future and to believe that God is giving you that, to believe that that is going to be answered, you can, for one thing, pray for help on this. But the other thing is focusing is, that He wants to give this to you. You know that that's where you want to be. And if you do this, for one night, that probably isn't going to be enough if you've had a lifetime of negative thought patterns. They might pop up the next day, and you might not hit that meditative state the first night, etc. So it's just keep trying, keep doing it. I don't want to say try. I want to say, make it a point to test this out. Set some time out to do this, 15 minutes or 30 minutes a night before you go to bed. For one thing, you'll find out that you sleep better, and like I said, need less sleep after a point in time. You might wake up refreshed even though you got the same amount of sleep as you might have gotten another night, but you were, tossing and turning because you had a nightmare because you weren't dealing with your issues. That's what the nightmares are about, us not dealing with the issues that we're supposed to be dealing with when we're conscious. So, if you can release those negative things, put those away, then the dreams will clear up and you'll have a more restful night's sleep. And like I had a dream this past week, sort of mentioned at the beginning, where I think I kind of went to heaven. Like in the dream, it was the mountains. But of course, Jesus and Moses went up to the mountains to speak to God. So, it's just like a dream I've never had before, just so totally vivid and just crazy. So it's just, there's a remarkable change in your dreams and your dream state, etc. So, try not to think about it as, you're taking 15 minutes away from your sleep or something. Try to schedule that time before the sleep and just set a schedule because, it's been a month and a lot of things are changing. I'm not entirely where I want to be, but I'm very, very, very happy with where I'm at right now. And maybe you guys can see it. I don't know. But I'm more hopeful than I was a month ago. And that can be for you too, right? So just try to set up some time to do that. Like I said, just be, sort of make an appointment with yourself, Don't let yourself just give it up. I know some people, they say, oh yeah, I'm going to meditate. And then they just do it once and, oh, that didn't work. And then they give it up, Really try to do this for like a week or 2 weeks or something and just see where you're at. And, don't be worried about how far you are. Don't be thinking, oh, I'm not as far as she about this or something, or I'm not here or there with that, and yes, things will come up during the day. But the things I'm telling you, you can do during the day as far as like, you notice that you're really angry at somebody. Well, then forgive them immediately. Don't let it go until you're going to bed to do that. If you felt like you did something wrong and you keep thinking about it during the day and replaying it during the day, realize that you're doing that during the day and say, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to focus. You can give yourself like 5-minute break and just think about how you want to be in the future, visualize yourself in the future, etc. You don't have to do that at the meditative state right before bed, etc. Yeah, so what I'm saying about the mind racing is there's a lot of things, and there's some people who say to just visualize, if you see a thought, visualize it passing you by. Throw it away or let it go down the river or whatever. But personally, I have to deal with it. I don't know if they're just leaving a situation to deal with later on or what, but personally, I have to deal with it. And so that might be what will help you guys. So just if you're laying there trying to do it and something comes up, think about it. Think about, why am I thinking about this right now? If you feel like, well, I felt like I had to do this and I've been procrastinating it, well, then do it. It's just kind of like your higher self or your spirit or soul or God telling you that you're supposed to deal with this, So deal with it. Don't keep putting it off. And I guess when people talk about just letting a thought go, I kind of think of it like, well, you're putting it off because you're probably going to have to think about it later. But I don't know. Abraham says that as soon as you let it go, then it's just gone. And, until it comes back again and you just let it go again. That's just not the way I do it. It's not, I just can't do that. If it comes back up again, I want to deal with it. I want to realize what's going on. And I want to have faith that God is going to take care of it so I don't have to deal with it if it's one of those worries. If your Life with Expression was talking about feeling unsure of whether to stay or leave and all that, these are important issues for you to think about, definitely. And I'm not going to give you an idea of what to do, but yes, you have to think about it. You have to deal with it. Um, and try to locate the worries that you might have. Like if there's a specific issue, you want to locate where is the core issue here? Am I worried about this? Like play it out in your mind, maybe. You know, if I do this, then this. What am I worried about with this? Like, if I stay, then I have to deal with this. Do I want to deal with this or do I not want to deal with this? If I leave, then I have to deal with this. Do I want to or do I not want to? Just sort of play out them in your mind, and then you can take it to God. You can, pray for an answer and to be led to the right thing, and having faith that He will answer you will definitely help a response come. You can visualize yourself finally feeling like, oh, I know what to do. I finally know what to do. Like, I finally feel free. I know what to do now. If you can visualize yourself into that feeling, you can create that better, I believe. Trying to think. I know mind's racing is probably the main problem that people have when they're doing this. And I was listening to Abraham, the meditations, like I said, and there's talking in there. Let's see. Getting into the Vortex, guided meditation, CD and user guide, Esther and Jerry Hicks. But like I said, the meditations are on YouTube for free if you really want to. But I bought the app. And if you buy it on Google or whatever, you can just download it on whatever. So I had it on the phone, and then I also downloaded onto my my tablet. And, I didn't have to pay twice for it or anything. You just get to use it on whatever devices that account is set up with. So I was listening to the words for a while, but then sometimes I zone out and I'm thinking, but I don't know. You might want to switch it up and see what works best for you. I think that's probably the best thing. I've got my meditation up if that's not working for you. There's the Abraham stuff, like I said. And then you can also listen to these tracks online with those something beats, binaural beats or something. There's other meditations out there, just music, etc. Make sure they don't have an ad before you play it and have an ad jump in the middle of it. Okay, so life with expression. If it is fear, then you have to focus on what you're afraid of and then give that to God. Just understand that there is you don't have to be afraid. He doesn't want you to be afraid. And whatever you're afraid of can be taken care of by Him. So you have to sort of face your fear as far as, look at it, understand it, give it to God, understand that He's going to give you the opposite of what, you don't want. You don't have to know how, though. That's the most important part. You can visualize yourself not being afraid. You can visualize yourself being happy with the decision without ever knowing what the decision is. You don't have to know how you got there. Just try to visualize yourself in the situation where, okay, God renewed me. I'm happy. Just think of yourself in a situation. What would you be doing if you knew what you wanted to do? You might be able to relax. You might, like I said, this past month, I've been relaxing. And I didn't used to watch movies or whatever. I've been taking time to just watch a movie. Pretty much watch a movie a night sometimes, just to get into the situation where I feel like I have a job where I don't have to work all day long. I can actually take time out and cook. I can take time out and watch a movie. I can take time out and relax. And once you get into that situation where you feel relaxed, then the manifestation comes where you don't have to worry about that time issue anymore. So with this situation, you want to think about yourself in a situation where you feel like you know what to do, so this stress is no longer bothering you. Is there something you could do without figuring out what the answer is, that you could just relax? Maybe even visualizing yourself meditating and not having thoughts pop up in your mind as you're meditating. Visualize yourself in 2 months meditating and actually feeling free, waking up refreshed because you figured it out. You knew what you wanted to do now, and you're no longer afraid of something. So you can visualize yourself meditating. It's kind of funny, but just visualize yourself, in the future where you've already figured it out and you're relaxed. And when you're doing this, when you're meditating, then feel your body relax. As soon as you're visualizing yourself in a state where, okay, the worries are off, you can feel your shoulders go back, you can feel yourself just sort of relax into the bed and just, feel that weight being lifted off of you. And once you feel that weight being lifted off of you, that's the meditation. That's you letting go of the resistance. So you can get to the feeling as if it's already happened. Greg Braden has a video called Feeling, is the prayer. The prayer is feeling, or whatever. The feeling is the prayer. If you can visualize yourself in the future already feeling the way that you want to feel, that's the prayer. That's the vibration that you're in that moment. If you go to bed and fall asleep in that vibration, visualizing yourself in this happy state of being, that's what you're putting in to your subconscious when you go to bed. That's what you're waking up with. And catch yourself when you wake up in the morning. Focus on the positives. There's an Abraham video I used to watch a lot, like a morning one, like, this is a new day. She says, this is a new day. A new vibration, a new chance to be in the world, etc. And it's a new day, so that every single day you wake up, it's like a new day. It's like a new you. You can choose the vibration you start out in. You can choose to be, upset or angry at something. But if something happens that gets you upset, like the dog went in the house or something, and now you have to clean it up, don't focus on the negative of this stuff. Think about, well, I'm going to have perfect timing for whatever comes in the future because I had to deal with this right now. So I don't know about particular videos. I've shared a couple links, like I said, on my my Facebook posts once in a while. But you're on my Facebook friends list, so you might have seen them. I don't know. I like the new day thing in the morning, but that doesn't really tell you what the vortex is and all that stuff. What I ended up doing is I found it accidentally, randomly. I believe the spirit led me to it. So what I do sometimes, and this might work for you, is feel like I want to feel better, like a prayer to God. I want to feel better. What video should I watch from Abraham Hicks? You can ask yourself, or ask God or whatever. This is a prayer. And then type in Abraham Hicks and a random word that comes into your mind. And then you might see a video that sticks out to you. Well, that looks interesting. And then click on it. And it's kind of a prayer. It's what some people would call divination, but prayers are divination. I did an article on my website about that. So, you're letting the Holy Spirit guide you to the perfect video for you. That's better than me saying, hey, you might be interested in this video. Because, it's working with what you know. The Spirit knows you intimately, and will guide you to the right video. I have done this. I've done Abraham Hicks random word, and found a video that I liked, and then I put autoplay on, and then I just listen to the autoplay stuff sometimes while I'm cooking or whatever. So yeah, I'm not like specifically saying, oh, you should watch this one. I think it's better if you figure it out yourself. I mean, through prayer. Are there any other questions or comments or thoughts or anything on the subject? I hope I've helped. I see a lot of people in the chat today, so that's really great. There's probably a problem with some people. all I can say is I think the more and more that you do this, the more and more you visualize the opposite of what you're feeling when you're, feeling bad or whatever. The more you visualize the opposite, the better it will be, and the more in tune, you'll wake up in the morning in a better, state of mind. You'll have a better day, and then you'll go to bed and you'll have a better meditation thing, and it'll just sort of exponentially get better and better as you go. And that's why I suggest to do it over and over again, and not just like say do it once and then that's it. Illusion is over was talking about little bird, bringing him a twig today. It's funny, yesterday, there was a couple days ago on Facebook, I was saying, oh, I'm seeing black cats everywhere. And I thought to myself, now I keep seeing birds and hearing about birds and things like that, and now I'm attracting birds. The thing with manifestations are, you know, the least resistance, like if you have a little resistance to anything that you're thinking about, that you're spending your thought process or your focus on, if you only have a little resistance to it, it can manifest in your life very quickly. The birds and the black cats and everything. Um, but if there's something that you have a lot of resistance to, you're kind of pushing against it, and that's why it takes longer for it to manifest. Or the opposite happens if you keep thinking about the opposite of what you want. You think about the lack of something, then you keep getting lack. Um, Life with expressions. And so when I try to relax, I get stuck on the vows. I'm torn on how Father sees those vows when you are unequally yoked. And if you're unequally yoked, would the Essene's point of view of marriage be? What would the Essene's point of marriage be? This is an interesting thing. I can give my opinion and my thoughts on things. And don't take it as gospel, basically, is what I want to say. You guys always have to listen to the Holy Spirit on what to do and everything. I know of a woman who, I think it was a little bit more than a year ago, was stuck in a marriage and it wasn't really working very well. And she wanted to know if she could get out of it and everything. And she did. And now she is back with somebody that she was with and loved before before the marriage. And it's working out better. I think that it's, for one thing, if both people in the marriage want to work it out, I would say work it out. That's my opinion. If you're in the marriage and one person doesn't want to work it out and one person does, what can you do? So you really have to focus on that too. Take that into account. There's times, I think, when I went through I had a relationship, and then I changed completely, and I felt like I was supposed to. I was supposed to try. I wanted to try. I didn't ever want it to break up. So that was how I was, and that's how I am now. And then there's the idea that the other doesn't think that that's going to work, because I was a completely different person after my deliverance. Now, of course, I'm kind of getting back to being more childlike and kind of back to more where I used to be, with a clean slate or a new perspective that was better than before. But I would still want to work that out, and hope that is the future. But there's some marriages that just, no matter what, some people change and the other person is just not going to change and all that. So it's not going to work out with that because the other person doesn't want to change. And I've talked to other people where even just like friendships, your vibe attracts your tribe. And I said your vibe repels your tribe in the opposite way. So if you're not at the same place vibrationally as somebody else, you're kind of feeling maybe led to split apart. And so I went with that. But um, then you might be led to get back together again or something in the future when you guys vibe again. So I don't even think about people letting go as the end thing if what you've prayed for and want is the relationship to work out, then God can provide. So, you know, it's so huge, this whole idea of marriage thing, but um I don't know. I when you change, it's kind of like you're a new person too. So, like if you were dead and the person they married is dead now because you're like a new creation and you're not the same person that they married anymore. I mean, I don't really know what the Essene take on that would be from us changing so much, you know? I mean, I think that they would want both people to work together and make it work, um, if they could. But we're in this place where there's such a, you know, Jesus came to with a sword, right? To put family member against family member. Um, and so it's a difficult time period, I think, that there's time when we might be sort of being torn apart so that we can deal with our stuff on our own and then maybe we'll get back together again, you know. Um, so I can't be the one to tell you what to do, but hopefully maybe talking and praying and all that stuff can help you to come up, like I said, visualizing yourself with, oh, I know what to do now, sort of feeling would help, I think. I haven't actually caught up with all the chat. So are there any questions or comments that you might have for me for the rest of this video? Anything else you guys want to talk about? I'm just waiting. I don't know if you can hear the dog barking in the background, but she wants to go out and bark at things. All right, if there's not, okay. The Kabbalah Meditation by Rav Pinson, I didn't get to watch it. I've been busy. I did get to do some transcribing thing, and then this other job came into my lap, and I've just really been busy. But I like Rav Pinson. You guys can look him up on YouTube. If you type in Rav Pinson, you'll find his videos. I forget the channel's not his name, but something like IYUNN Institute or something. And I know people call it the Kabbalah, but I think the Essenes are actually more like Kabbalistic than people would tend to think. I mean, whenever I was studying the Essene stuff, I think it's just more, I think he's so on track with what the Essenes taught, in my opinion, but other people read the same stuff and they don't get the same opinion. So I don't think of that as like a negative thing if anybody out there is wondering about that. Thank you very much, Sylvia. I'm really glad to see you all here. I really hope this helped. It might be something that even if you try it, the meditation, and then it doesn't, click or something. Like I said, things might come back to you in the future, and it'll probably get better, easier and easier, as I said, as you go. All right, I think I'm gonna end the chat. So thank you all. I actually haven't had anything to eat today because I was going to, yes, go vegan. Yeah, it's really for the best, I believe, and for everybody all around, even for us. So yeah, thank you all for coming. It's really great to see you all here, and have a great weekend too. Bye.